What's going on, everyone? Happy Tuesday to everyone. Hopefully everyone's doing well and having a great day so far. It is time now for the Tuesday weather update for Tuesday, February 20th, 2024. If you're new to my channel, this is where we do the daily weather forecast for the United States, talk about weather happenings around the world, such as records or extreme weather, and yes, we do get into the long-range forecast as well. If you enjoy this type of content, give it a thumbs up, subscribe down below, and share this channel with anyone you know. Today we're going to start off taking a look at some data that just came in from the National Weather Service. This is for the eastern United States. This is as of 5 p.m. on February 18th, 2024. What they did was they put the snowfall totals up to that point, and then they also stated what the averages are. Now, we're not going to read every single city here, but we'll go through a few of them. And let's just start off with the one right at the top, Buffalo, New York. Now, they had a big lake effect snow event earlier in the season, but believe it or not, they're below average. 58.5 inches of snow so far this season. The average right now is 72.8 inches. So, yeah, that's quite a bit below average. Then we come down to Bangor, Maine. 26.7 inches of snowfall so far this winter. That's well below average. That's 49.5 inches is actual average for this time of year. Believe it or not, there is one place on here that is slightly above average, despite how warm it's been in the eastern United States. And that is Allentown, Pennsylvania, which has 25.2 inches so far. And their average is 22.9 inches. So that is slightly above average. And a big reason for that is the last two storms. Especially the last storm really gave them a big dumping there. I think they ended up with somewhere between 10 to 14 inches of snow in that area. Remember the storm system last Friday night that overperformed? That band that sat up? Well, because of that band setting up over them, it put them above average. Baltimore, Maryland, you're below average. 11.3 inches of snow so far this winter, and your average is 14.2. Then you come down, let's go a little further south. You come down to like Greensboro, North Carolina. You've had a trace so far. Your average is 5.5 inches. Let's go a little bit further to the north. Atlantic City, New Jersey. 7.3 inches so far. Your average is 13.1. I mean, on and on it goes. It's been a very mild winter in the east. Boston, here's a good one. 9.7 inches of snow so far. Your average up to this date, mind you, all these averages up to this date is 33.8 inches for you. So all these averages I just read off, that's up to February 18th. Obviously, you average a little bit more snow by the end of the winter, but you get the idea here, and the majority of the places I just talked about will not be adding much snow on for the foreseeable future. All right. Continuing on here, let's take a look at the national satellite picture, and you will see here on the national satellite picture, yeah, pretty quiet across much of the country. There's just this weak little system across South Carolina and Georgia, not going to do much. We continue to see our system on the west coast. Let's zoom into that more specific. And there is some heavy rainfall in the Los Angeles area right now, but when we go out into the Pacific, you can see here, for the west coast, it's quiet now. But take a look at this. There is another system out here that will impact the Pacific Northwest as we head into probably at some point during the weekend. We'll have to keep our eyes on that. Taking a look at the national radar picture, quiet across much of the country, except for the west coast, and we do have some moderate to even localized heavy rainfall going over Los Angeles at this time, and that is relatively concerning. Also, San Francisco area, you got a period of moderate rain, maybe even locally heavy rainfall heading for you. Seattle, you're dealing with some showers today as well. Let's take a look at national air temperatures. You can see, look where the warmest section is in the country. Texas, portions of Texas are into the mid-80s today. Yes, in February. That's pretty rare to see, but it's happened. Northeast, still just a degree or two below average. That's going to change as we head into tomorrow. And the West Coast, pretty much slightly below average because of the storm system that you are dealing with. Taking a look at the national hazards map, you can see here there continues to be flood watches and flash flood watches out on the west coast, and there's even some winter storm watches mixed within. You get the idea. The storm system continues to be ongoing. Those winter storm watches, by the way, that's up in Alaska, and there's also blizzard warnings in Alaska at this time. Let's zoom into the National Weather Service in the Los Angeles area, and you can see here there is a flood advisory just to the southeast of Los Angeles down in Anaheim at this time. Taking a look here at excessive rainfall, moderate risk for Los Angeles area, slight risk along much of the California coast for today. Heavy rainfalls, localized flooding, maybe even a mudslide risk does exist for today. Taking a look at days 1 through 7 precipitation amounts. Let me refresh this because this does update around this time of day. You can see here, less precipitation for California. However, Pacific Northwest, the Pac Northwest, yeah, look at this. You will be seeing some more rainfall in Oregon and Washington. I showed you that. There's another system out there in the Pacific that will impact you at some point, probably closer to the weekend. And then the Ohio Valley. We'll have to keep an eye on this. There's some trends ongoing with the models. There may be some convection with this now, so we'll have to see how that goes, and that would be later this week. I'll show you that on the models. Taking a look here at the latest Storm Prediction Center forecast. Nothing for today, but tomorrow there is a marginal risk across eastern Kansas, western Missouri, and across extreme northeast Oklahoma. So that is something we will have to keep an eye on. Probabilities, no tornado probabilities, and there is a 5% hail probability at this time, with no wind probability either at this point. All right, let's take a look at the models. Here's the HRRR model. This is the 18Z HRRR that just came in. You can see things do start to improve in the West Coast, though as we head into tomorrow, there will still be some showers. California, and even up in the portions of Seattle and Oregon. You can see that's going to continue up there. California will dry out. Like Seattle, you'll still see a few showers. But then as I reverse this backwards, I want you to take note of what happens in the Great Lakes region. Look at this convection. Matter of fact, let's make it easier for you to see. I'm going to put this in the north central region. And take a look at this. You can see some showers get going as we head into first thing Thursday morning. And look at this. Even some thunderstorms just south of Chicago, maybe South Bend area. You could be dealing with some isolated thunderstorms. Look at this. This is rather impressive. Now you're seeing some pink over here. That's because that's over the Great Lakes and Lake Erie, and when you're over there, it's cold there. It's showing. It's just a model graphic area. I don't think there's actually going to be freezing rain there, but you can see here, it's almost a bow echo. So we'll have to watch this to see if this becomes anything. Again, this is for the Thursday morning time frame. There could be some convective activity with this system. Taking a look at the NAM now for the longer range, and we'll go even further with the GFS next. You can see here, for the most part, the majority of the country is going to be quiet. That storm system does start to develop on Thursday, and you can see here, it develops over the Great Lakes, and that will provide some showers to the northeast and the mid-Atlantic. You generally have to go north of Interstate 90 in New York State to find any wintry precipitation. And you can see here, as I advance this into Friday, the cold air, it seeps a little bit further to the south. And maybe there'll be some light snow in Vermont, maybe a mix in the Berkshires, but generally nothing terribly impressive. This storm system is nothing what the models once were trying to show. The energy is too strung out. I can show you at the 500 millibar level. You can see here, there's nothing really impressive. You do have a closed vortex up here in Canada, and that's what's going to bring colder weather into the northeast as we head into the weekend. Now let's take a look at the GFS. We will go into next week with precipitation and temperatures across the country. You can see, generally quiet for much of the country. There's that convective potential in the Ohio Valley and in the Great Lakes on Thursday going into Friday, then some showers in the northeast. GFS does still try to develop a low. We switched this to wintry precipitation. Still tries to provide some snow for Maine. That's a wild card we'll still have to watch. Behind that, it's going to be a relatively quiet weekend. You get the brief cool down in the northeast. Then you get another front that comes through on Monday. But really, that's not going to last. A warm front's coming. It's going to blast right through the northeast. The majority of the country is going to go above average. Then all eyes turn to the central portion of the United States. Tuesday and Wednesday, there's the potential for some severe weather as I advance this. You can see a trough does come in, and look at this. From the Great Lakes on southward, even down into Alabama, northern Mississippi, there is the potential for a severe weather event. Tuesday night going into Wednesday looks to be the time frame right now. Mind you, it's a week out. Timing could change, but if everything would go perfectly, let's take a look at this here. I'm going to show you the 500 millibar. Look at that. Some pretty potent energy. And out ahead of that, there will be some potential for instability. Take a look at this. There's some instability out ahead of this. That's fairly impressive. Let's take a look at the dew points at this time as well. And you will see on the dew points do get into the 60s. So this is something we'll have to start keeping an eye on. And you can see, look behind. Very dry dew points. So you do get somewhat of a dry line that tries to set up. And let's take a look at temperatures ahead of this. Yeah, 70s all the way up even into Chicago, St. Louis, mid-70s for you, 70s in Texas. Actually, I wouldn't be surprised if that goes even higher, potentially into the 80s in Texas. And you will get warm in the east as well. Probably Tuesday into Wednesday. Look at this, Florida, potentially 80s for you as we head into next Wednesday. Behind that, there'll be a brief shot of cold air, but look what happens. Yeah, starts to warm up once again, and that's going to happen pretty much across much of the country. Let's also get the Canadian model up here, shall we? And let's see what the Canadian model has for that. Because the Canadian is a little bit different. You can see, generally a quiet weekend across the country. Again, just a brief cold shot in the northeast. It's not even going to last all that long. You probably will feel for a day or two max, and then it's going to be basically feeling like spring. Then we head into the middle of next week. Here's the Canadian. The Canadian is a little bit weaker with the precipitation. It's not quite as impressive as the GFS, and pretty much this front just really races through without much bark or bite at all. But behind that, the Canadian does try to get another system going, another ridge forms, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. Right now, the GFS and its ensemble, the GEFS, is the most impressive for a severe weather threat in the middle of next week. And you know what? Let's be twice as nice. Let's even bring in the European. Let's see what the European is showing for next week. And as you can see here, the European, for the most part, is not really as impressive as the GFS. GFS right now is the most impressive model, but nonetheless, you're seeing here, there are indications of a squall line. So that could definitely be a wind threat, just not the potential tornado threat that is being shown on the GFS. We'll see. There's a lot of time to talk about this. That's pretty much all I have for today. As you can see, it's a relatively quiet pattern. There will be some rain that continues in the Pacific Northwest. I can show you that here on the European. You can see as we head into Saturday afternoon and Sunday. Yeah, there comes the rain once again. Seattle, Washington, Oregon, Portland, Oregon. You're going to be in a very wet stretch from this weekend well into much of next week. So that's something we'll have to watch. We'll have another weather update again tomorrow. If you enjoyed this update, by all means, give this a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel down below, and have a fantastic afternoon. Oh, and don't forget to share this with anyone you know and on social media. I will see you all again tomorrow. I'm Climate Data Report. Thanks for watching this video. Have a fantastic Tuesday afternoon.